Warning, this is a review for the Kadic reviews. No audio, video clips from the movie, TV show, and or video game were used in the making of this review. Plus, it is uncensored. It is for mature audiences only and an opinion. Leave comments down at the bottom for other movies, TV shows, or video games you would like to see reviewed. And have lots of fun. Now, let's enjoy the show. Ladies and gentlemen, after 2 months, welcome back to Kadic. Yes, there's been 2 months since my last non-pony related video. And for those that are waiting for the continuation of 65 and 65, that will come September 1st as I pick it up and give you guys the next set of episodes as we march our way to that vaunted November 23rd. But let's not get off topic here, because the topic of the return of the Kadic reviews is something that I have been waiting a long time to do, and I'm sure some people have been waiting even longer than that. The last proper Kadic review was of the 1994 hideous Street Fighter movie. Now, back a couple of years ago, circa 2011, Capcom had the idea to, well, do a sequel. The sequel was going to be a prequel of sorts, telling the story of one of Street Fighter's most popular and animated characters. No, not Ryu or Ken, not Akuma, but rather Chun-Li, the big-breasted, high-thighed Chinese chick. Now, what if I were to tell you that the sequel, to most people that have seen it, is worse than the first? And what if I told you that that's half right? Prepare yourselves, ladies and gentlemen, because this is what you've been waiting for. The Kadic review of Street Fighter, The Legend of Chun-Li. Well, I've seen plenty of other reviews for this movie, both on print and off print and online. Most notably, the person that I have to give credit for me wanting to do this review in the first place is a person that I honestly subscribe to. The often enigmatic, often angry, but very opinionated Razor Fist. You see, of all the videos that I've seen Razor Fist do, which I've seen about 40 or 50 of his work, and trust me, they're mostly quality, the one that stands out as one of my 3 personal favorites, other than his Mega Man X3 review and his review of the Invasion USA, is his review of this pile of semi-okayism. You see, Razor Fist pretty much went on a tangent about how bad this movie was. And good lord, is he for the most part right? You see, the guys at Capcom trying to capitalize off of the release of Street Fighter 4, making a ton of money, and seeing that Resident Evil 5 was in the rearview mirror, decided to revisit Street Fighter as a movie franchise by releasing its prequel. They asked the main development team behind Resident Evil 5, including the creator of Mega Man, Keiji Inafune, to executive produce this movie. Now keep in mind, he also created Street Fighter. So Capcom did them a solid and was alright with it. Now, the writer for this movie, which I'm not even going to give out his name because he sucks at writing, is also the person that is going to be futurely responsible for the Dead Space movie. Keep this in mind as this video continues, because if you are a Dead Space fan, this should scare the living daylights out of you. You see, they got a couple of noticeable actors. Neil McDonough as playing M. Bison, which M. Bison pretty much went to a Seamus fan convention and came out Irish in this movie. They got one of the dudes from the horrible band, the Black Eyed Peas, to play a black ass way taller than the character actually is, Virgin of Vega, and some dude from American Pie to play as Charlie. Which, by the way, Charlie Nash in this movie, as the character is referred to, doesn't even look like Charlie. But they also got the guy who played Liu Kang from Mortal Kombat to play his Gang, which is the only correct role here. Quite frankly, he's the best actor in this movie, and if it wasn't for the actress who played Chun-Li actually looking like I actually want to look at her, unlike the actual character of Chun-Li, which I can't even stare at the size of her double D knockers, this movie would have already been a travesty. But let's be honest, it starts as a travesty. As we see young Chun-Li grow up in pretty much peace and harmony until one day, because her father is an eccentric businessman, and by eccentric meaning working with the wrong people, his house gets jumped and attacked by Belrog, played by the late Michael Clark Duncan. I wonder, could this movie have been one of the reasons he was closer to death? God rest his soul, but Michael Clark, for being such a good actor as you were, this was a bad script decision. In fact, I would say this about every actor that is in this movie. And the reason I don't say their names is to protect their identities from the pitchforks, bad negative reviews, and the bad repressed memories that they must have for doing this movie. So quite frankly, if I'm not being too thorough on names like I am in other reviews, it's for their protection, not mine. Believe me, I could have went to Wikipedia and actually looked up their names, but it still would have not made the fact of this performance that they did in this movie any better. Chun-Li's dad holds his own at first against Balrog until miraculously ninjas break into the house. Now, I will say this about Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li. The fight choreography and the fights themselves actually look good and are pleasing to the eye to watch. They're not quick. They don't have much dialogue outside of the fighting. It's just pure fighting, which is good. So that's one thumb up for this movie. And then M. Bison shows up. That looks nothing like the actual M. Bison. I mean, M. Bison in this movie is blonde. M. Bison isn't blonde, he's got black hair. As a gamer, that's insulting. Remember, this movie is based on a video game. So, accuracy to the video game is the most important quality here, which this movie sorely lacks any of it. Although there's a few winks and nods here and there, but largely is non-existent. As the plot continues, Chun's dad is taken prisoner while Chun's mother gets punched in the head. And then mysteriously, because of the brain damage that Balrog has given her, mysteriously a few months later dies. You see, Chun wanted a future as a concert pianist. Yep, that's right. Apparently the master of the spinning bird kick can also play you a nice piano sonata if you ask her to. Which, by the way, the piano music is actually good, although you can tell the actress is faking it the whole way through. Way of suspension of disbelief there, guys. During the end of one of her piano recitals, she gets a long ancient Chinese scroll that tells her to go look for the leader of the Order of the Web, named Gen. She decides to go to Hong Kong to find Gen, but Gen's a douchey prick, and as per his requirements, she is, in Chun-Li's own words, meant to connect closer to the streets of Bangkok, Thailand before he would show up. Pretty much what that translates into is she had to give up everything she physically owned and live on the streets, getting help from the local citizens, using internet cafes, and pretty much living the life of an average Thailandian. Meanwhile, M. Bison, still holding Chun-Li's father hostage, is looking for someone, but in the meantime, he decides to take complete control over Shadow Road, telling his investors that they're no longer needed and their territories belong to him. The investors tell him to go fly a kite, only to have Vega played by Taboo of the Black Eyed Peas come in and do a little slice and dice to close the deal, per se. You see, M. Bison runs real estate. That's right. Seriously, I couldn't make this stuff up. And this is where me and the fist start to largely agree. Seriously? Seriously? The terrorist organization bent on world domination through mind control, psycho power, and through street fighting tournaments, deals in real estate on the poorest part of Thailand. What? Honestly, dude, stop writing forever. Just the whole notion of that makes me throw up. But need I digress and continue? You see, Charlie is working alongside this chick named Maya, which, by the way, Maya looks hot, but she's unimportant in this movie. As Charlie continues to hit up on her, we also find out that Charlie used to work for Shadow Wow, but he managed to get his ass out of there and is now dealing as an informant for Interpol. Now, Charlie's been trying to track down Bison for quite a bit a long time, about a decade or so, but can't seem to trace the guy. Meanwhile, Chun finally, after defending a helpless man in a street fight by beating up some thugs, finally runs into Gen, and Gen starts training her in the art of spiritual and martial arts, while also keeping her fed and also teaching her computer-generated fireballs. Meanwhile, Chun's actions are starting to get the attention of everybody involved, most notably Bison, who's got a few connections and ends up losing one in a nightclub after Chun finally starts stalking everything's Shadow Wow and figures out the information of a package being shipped called the White Rose. The White Rose is not a thing, rather, it's a person. A person that is rather to be explained to be M. Bison's daughter. And if you think that's crazy enough, just wait till you hear the story of why M. Bison wants her tracked down. You see, as he was growing up, he was a perpetual bully, a criminal, and a thief. But he wanted to be more than that. He wanted to be evil incarnate. So, following an ancient sacrificial ritual, he takes his then pregnant wife and literally rips the unborn daughter out of the womb to transfer his good conscience into the infant to become purely evil. Again, I'm not making it up. This is the actual plot of the movie. And now M. Bison wants to track the young Rose down to kill her. Which, after Chun finds out, there's finally a final bit of confrontations. First, Vega gets done in and hung by his feet like a chump. Practically all of Interpol comes in guns blazing. Mind you, this is Street Fighter. And there's gunfights with M16s. Street Fighter. Interpol and Chun-Li manage to board the ship. Chun-Li finds Rose and manages to keep her safe. Meanwhile, Gen, after surviving a rocket launcher launched by Belrog, manages to also infiltrate the ship to finally confront Balrog and practically freeze steam him to death in a freezer. Meanwhile, Chun-Li still pissed off at the fact that Bison earlier in the scene iced her father by breaking his neck shortly after a reunion of sorts. Finally, finally confronts our blonde-headed dictator and takes him down like a chump. Practically, the movie ends with the funeral for the father that is buried alongside the mother. Meanwhile, Gen reunites with Chun-Li and tells her of a street fighting tournament coming up in which he mentions a guy by the name of Ryu. Chun decides to sit this one out, maybe next time, which is a reference to the fact that Chun was not in the first Street Fighter, but rather the second. All in all, this movie, on the part of a video game movie, is absolute trash. A, dis- a disaster upon disaster upon disaster. The the writer should be shot. The director should be shot. The the guy doing the music choreography should be shot. I mean, practically all the extras should be shot and practically were in the movie. I mean, this thing is a massacre of a video game movie. If Silent Hill Revelations is what happens when you do a video game movie correctly, then Legend of Chun-Li is what you get when you do absolutely everything of the same thing wrong. But as a movie, it's entertaining. The action scenes are part of the way decent, and the plot does enough to cause suspension of disbelief in some aspects. But overall, as a popcorn flick, it also fails too. There's not enough information here, not enough action here. There's way too much scenes of just music and dry dialogue without action to really qualify it as an action flick to be supported. And the movie's just badly acted all around. No matter how many big actors you get centering them around just a bad script altogether doesn't really help the movie in its matters. It's just terrible. Just plain horrible. Trust me, I gave Street Fighter, the first one, the benefit of the doubt because it was being sort of cheesy and it's sort of a cult classic. This, however, I cannot, by any circumstances. Trust me, if you haven't seen Razorfist's review on this movie, do yourself a favor and do that. He does it. His review is practically the same way that I feel coming out of it. Plus, it might be more for your YouTube entertainment value. But as for a straight review of this skid, I can't say it enough. Avoid this like the plague. Like the plague. You see, Equestria Girls got the honor of having the first 10 in Kadic review history. Because that's how you do a movie right. for what it's meant for. This, however, is the total opposite. So, ladies and gentlemen, now that we've set the bar in Kadic Reviews history for what is good, Equestria girls, let us set the bar for what is bad. I give Street Fighter The Legend of Chun-Li a 1. That's right, a 1. 1 out of 10. Do not watch this movie. Do not recommend this movie. Do not see this movie in passing by. If you see it on FX, just imagine that you're watching soccer or something. It's more entertaining than that. Until next time, where I swear the Kadic review will be of something better. Live life by the code.